Entertainment, R. Kelly claims he has written 25 albums 3 years into his 30-year prison sentence over sex trafficking and racketeering. This he called into the Inmate Tea podcast and shared this news. But good morning once again, and good morning to you, Robert.
A lovely morning to you, Julie. It's a Friday.
It is a
I must
Friday.
say, and of course Friday, I'm usually very excited.
About what exactly?
Of course, there is a nightlife that I do for journalistic purposes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so when you see me in any place, maybe you don't expect me to be at a particular time, but not of low class, but a place. Sometimes I'm there typically for journalistic purposes.
Now there's a lot of explanation, but good morning, Olive.
No, let me just conclude this thing very briefly. You know, doing a morning show and many other shows, you must have general knowledge concerning everything.
Okay, that's true.
Even if you find me in the ghetto, I'm trying to understand the monies that the president is sending to the people in the ghettos. What is their life like? What do they go through? If you find me in a bar, I'm there to see this nightlife you're talking about, that Uganda has the best nightlife in East Africa. What is it like? I must be informed.
All right.
And I love being informed when I was there at that scene.
What has made your week?
What has made my week, actually, it can't be anywhere far than the Kawempe North by-election. Now, Council Elias Nalukola was announced the winner by the Electoral Commission. And till yesterday, he hasn't yet been gazetted. And he cannot be sworn in as a member of parliament if he's not gazetted. So what does this mean? That currently, Nalukola's fate unless gazetted, so that he's sworn in as a member of parliament. He is not yet ready to celebrate enough. Remember, the law gives a person or any complainant 7 days of which to petition. Now, it may all not look as rosy as it seemed when he got his victory. I must say he may not sleep comfortably, neither should the NUP camp, until they push for this. I saw Honorable Semujunganda asking the Speaker of Parliament why it's taken long, yet some members of Parliament in by-elections, I took them maybe a day or two to be gazetted. Joel Senyonyi, that is the leader of opposition in Parliament, also came up and mentioned the same thing. That Honorable Speaker, when you ask the Electoral Commission, they're telling us they are still sorting out a few issues. Now, I hope with the remaining period to 2026 and then having elections, Kawempe North may not suffer, because at one time they had a very sick member of parliament, which wasn't his making anyway, and they weren't represented in parliament. Now, if they still have this drama, the 60 days elapsed, they went for an election, and right now Kawempe North has no member of parliament still.
Interesting story there. Olive, good morning.
Good morning, Julie. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. You didn't seem to believe Robert's story
about
the nightlife.
If
Neither do I, though. I will.
If you have to use so many words, so many sentences to explain something very simple, then something is fishy. For the lack of a
These
better
days you
word.
like yellow so much.
What's your problem?
I'm just inquiring.
What's your problem?
Well, Olive. Olive, what has made your week?
Robert likes to dig.
I know.
Even where he's not supposed,
to, yeah. He's not seems
For
to
journalistic purposes.
Oh, no.
Yes, definitely.
Come on, Robert. But anyway, Julie, still regarding the Kawempe North by-election. First of all, good morning, viewers. My name is Olive Monica Najuma. Now, regarding the Kawempe North by-election, we do remember that there were incidents of journalists being clobbered and being intimidated, being literally beaten by security agencies. Now, more than 20 journalists have petitioned the Uganda Human Rights Commission seeking for justice. Now, the journalists claim that they want the journalists are putting the security agencies on the spot, seeking accountability from these agencies and compensation for their damaged equipment. Now, according to the journalists, some of them are still nursing wounds, injuries that they sustained during the by-elections, and of course we saw footages of them, many of them claiming to have been taken into drones and having been beaten while in these drones. So they are seeking seeking redress, but also accountability and also damages. Because for some of them, we even saw some of the videos, some of them, their cameras, which they say are their tools of work, were damaged. You see, a camera, when a journalist is in the field, a camera is as to a journalist as a gun is to a police officer. And these ones were damaged by security personnel, and others were confiscated. So we will see. The Human Rights Commission is saying they will investigate. But if I'm to take you back, especially you viewer, if you missed the events that occurred, witnesses recounted scenes of officers from the Uganda Police Force and the Joint Anti-Terrorism Task Force, that is JAT, indiscriminately targeting media personnel, confiscating their equipment, and subjecting them to severe physical abuse.
Well, that reminds me when I was still a field man. One time during the his walk to work, when a group of journalists around Kasanga, moving, you know, when they tear gas the whole area, and we landed on these UPDF officers, and they called us. And by then, because we didn't have these incidents, we went peacefully. Only to tell us, lie down, face the sun, and it was.
Wow. Now, Robert,
but the chance happened. Judith Nabakova was then the spokesperson. Honorable Judith Nabakova. So by luck, she was moving through with her team. I said, but who are those people? Only to notice that we were the journalists that were being told, put your equipment down there. And I kept asking myself, and for this particular reason, maybe those days we would say some of us were not branded that effective. But when a journalist tells you that they were looking out for, as long as you are branded. Now,
because they are saying they were not caught in the crossfire, but rather targeted.
Now, this is my humble appeal to security agencies, some of them who go beyond. And this is my experience, that you say a journalist is not only that journalist is going to help you as well. Let me disclose something. When Kizza Besigye retired, Dr. Kano Kizza Besigye was hit on the finger by a rubber bullet. The next person to him was me. Now, Honorable Judith Nabakova was then the police spokesperson. They wanted to know what exactly had happened. I remember being called and given a phone, and I spoke to someone whom I won't disclose, to reveal what exactly had happened and the condition he was in. So the stories we cover, the pictures, the videos we get, may at one time be what you need to have the facts. Because much as you have the police press unit, the UPDF press unit, those people may not have the skills. I have a field man to capture what you need. So at a certain time, your commander will ask you that you're the one who did this. And you will end up that the video of that journalist will be what will save you.
That is so, so true. And as is, journalism is for the nation of Uganda. Patriotism is at the core of Uganda and every Ugandan, and journalists are for that. So on that note, Robert, take us through what is on the local scene.
Well, we'll begin with Bunyoro leaders' reactions. Now, we have a section of leaders, including members of cabinet, have tipped communities of Bunyoro sub-region to tap into the already established infrastructure in their area, since not all regions of Uganda have already received what they have received so far. These leaders were meeting the President of Uganda in Kiryandongo district as he entered his third day of wealth creation tour in Bunyoro sub-region. As many leaders gathered at Kigumba Technical Institute in Kiryandongo district to interact with the President of Uganda, many were optimistic that indeed in Bunyoro sub-region, the President is checking on the progress of government poverty alleviation programs. According to the leaders, the ground has been shaped and the results are promising. Key particular projects which can't skip anyone's mention are the infrastructure and oil development. With these, the communities of Bunyoro are being urged to close up the books of lamentation, but rather open up the book of Exodus. The President has been in Bunyoro since Tuesday this week. Moving on, the Inspector General of Police, Abbas Byakagaba, has confirmed that indeed the Uganda police was equally disturbed by the scenes of Kawempe North by-elections, where media practitioners from different media houses were injured following confrontations with a section of security agencies. Byakagaba, who regretted such acts, however, promised that police has since then embarked on processes of laying down strategies which can enable all sectors to operate harmoniously. He was speaking to UBC in an exclusive interview from Chiriandongo district. It has been days since the country woke up on the dark days, as many perceived to be from the security circles, highly handed and confronted members of the Fourth Estate. However, the Inspector General of Police came out to regret the incidents and said these will be investigated. Parliament has approved a loan request to finance the compensation of Umeme Limited for the uncovered investments. The funds, to the tune of $190.9 million will be secured from Stanbic Bank. But the move to approve the loan came after heated debate, as members of Parliament had requested that the process is halted until the Auditor General finalizes with the audit query on the matter. The Minister of State for Finance in charge of general duties, Henry Musasizi, told the House that government's commitment to respond accordingly after the process is finalized. It was unusual practice where Parliament overturns a majority report from the sectoral committee to act ordinarily. The Parliamentary Committee on National Economy, backed up by a section of members of MP of Parliament, presented a suggestion that the loan request for the Umeme buyout be halted until the Auditor General completes valuation. But the Minister of State for Finance, Henry Musasizi, quickly objected the report of the committee, citing time constraints. The funding is intended to finance the compensation of Umeme Limited for the uncovered capital investments in accordance with the lease and assignment agreement. This is in response to the guidance by the head of state, the Ministry of Finance, to ensure that the required funds for the buyout of Umeme Limited are sourced by the time the concession agreement expires. And finally, from the local scene, the Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, has attributed the delayed swearing of the newly elected Member of Parliament for Kawempe North, Eriasi Luyimbazi Nalukola, to the Electoral Commission. The Speaker said the EC has not gazetted Nalukola, a member of the National Unity Platform, for the Parliament to be sworn in. Some MPs, including Semuju Ibrahim Nganda of Kira Municipality, questioned the delay, citing that some MPs are treated otherwise. Luyimbazi Nalukola emerged the winner in the March 12th by-election held in Kawempe Division. The Kira Municipality Member of Parliament, Ibrahim Semuju Nganda, questioned why the House hasn't considered to swear in the newly elected Kawempe MP. The House resumed business after a long recession, with hopes that the usual practice of swearing in a new Member of Parliament would take precedent. Semuju's concern is derived from allegations of frustrating Nalukola's win after some players contested the results. The Minister of State for Trade, David Bahati, responded to the queries, informing the House of the guidance of the head of state on the said matter. This caused back-to-back reactions. And with that, we come to the end of our local stories.
All right, Olive, what do we have in the foreign arena?
Well, in the foreign arena, we head direct to Eastern Europe, where Russian President Vladimir Putin would breach a peace deal with Ukraine if it is not defended, Sake Starmer has said after attending a meeting of senior military leaders in London. The UK Prime Minister said any agreement to stop the fighting between Russia and Ukraine would only be lasting if there were security agreements and arrangements in place. He was speaking at Parliament Joint Headquarters in Northwood, London, where more than 20 countries gathered at a closed meeting to discuss proposals for troops in Ukraine to help guarantee the country's security as part of any peace deal. Sarkar said security arrangements would make clear to Russia there would be severe consequences if they are to breach any deal. The Prime Minister said the UK and its allies were moving from political momentum to military planning, which he said had to be done now before a deal was agreed. He said, and I quote, "It is vitally important we do that work because we know one thing for certain, which is a deal without anything behind it is something that Putin will breach. We know that because it happened before. I'm absolutely clear in my mind it will happen again," end quote. Sarkar ruled out redeploying UK troops from countries such as Estonia to commit to Kyiv, saying, and I quote, "There is no pulling back from our commitments to other countries," end quote. Now moving on. U.S. President Donald Trump has signed an executive order to dismantle the Department of Education, fulfilling a campaign pledge and a long-cherished goal of some conservatives, accusing the agency of breathtaking failures. The Republican president vowed to return the money it controls to individual states. "We are going to shut it down as quickly as possible," Trump said, although the White House acknowledged that closing the agency outright would require an act of Congress. The move is already facing legal challenges from those seeking to block the agency's closure, as well as sweeping cuts to its staff announced last week. Surrounded by children seated at school desks in the White House on Thursday, Trump said, and I quote, "The U.S. spends more money on education by far than any other country." Yet he added that students rank near the bottom of the list. The White House stated that his administration would move to cut parts of the department that remain within legal boundaries. The executive order is likely to face legal challenges, like many of the Trump administration's efforts to shrink the size of the federal government. At the signing ceremony, Trump praised Linda McMahon, whom he appointed to lead the department, and expressed his hope she would be the last Secretary of Education. And lastly, close to 70,000 South Africans have expressed interest in moving to the United States following Washington's offer to resettle people from the country's Afrikaner community, a business group has said. The South African Chamber of Commerce in the USA, SACUSA, said its website received tens of thousands of registrations from those seeking more information. In a February executive order, President Donald Trump said Afrikaners, descendants of mainly Dutch settlers who arrived in the 17th century, could be admitted as refugees as they were victims of unjust racial discrimination. Relations between the U.S. and South Africa have become increasingly strained since Trump became president in January 2025. SACUSA said that in a pivotal step, it has handed the list of interested individuals to the U.S. Embassy in Pretoria. An embassy official confirmed to the BBC that it had received the list. Out of the 67,042 people who registered on SACUSA's site, most had Afrikaner or English names, the organization's president, Neil Diamond, said. SACUSA, a group representing South African business people living in the U.S., said most of those who expressed interest in migrating were aged between 25 and 45 and had between 2 and 3 dependents. Well, that brings us to the end of our international news.
Thank you, Olive. And let's dig into what's in the press this morning. And in the new vision, government avails funds to hire 2,800 teachers, 7.132 billion Uganda shillings earmarked for implementation of aligned A-level curriculum. That is in the new vision, but still there in the new vision, Museveni commissions Bunyoro Industrial Hub, and in the harvest money, pesticide misuse, a silent threat to health livelihoods. And in the new vision, still Umeme buyout, Parliament approves 700 billion shillings loan. And in the Katanga trial, Molly did not call other suspects' numbers. That is in the New Vision. But moving on to what is in the Daily Monitor, teens go missing. That is in the Daily Monitor. Where are they? Cases of teenagers leaving home and never returning over the past 2 weeks have sent chills amongst residents of Nigeria, a Kampala city suburb, with one of the missing found dead. Now, the pictures there show Susan Ngongo with no trace. She's 15 years old, left home last Sunday when her mother sent her to buy bananas at around 6 p.m. but never returned. And then one of the teenagers was found dead. Relatives of a boy said he was found dead in Chisenyi, a Kampala suburb, 2 days after his disappearance. And there is one Aisha Ndagire who's also reported missing. She's 16 years, said she had gone to pick up a smartphone from her boyfriend and she never returned. Now, the police says that the only reported case of a missing teenager is of Aisha Ndagire that was reported by her relatives 2 weeks back, and we are investigating. This is by Miss Pauline Amulen, the officer in charge of Nigeria Police Station. And day as you set for the weekend, and I'm not alone. As always, I am with Olive Monica Najuma and Rond alive, and one was found dead, and the other two are still missing. That is in the Daily Monitor. Still in the Daily Monitor, cancer cases more among women than in men. Medics report so. And Dr. Nelson Yonzima, the head of training and research at Uganda Cancer Institute, says that the cancer burden in the country remains the highest amongst women. But still, in the Daily Monitor, the opportunities ahead as Uganda Airlines launches the London route. And still in the Daily Monitor, the Lizard states that maybe journalists are tired of being told lies, seeing as journalists throw off their hats into the 2026 general election, and job opportunities in there in the Daily Monitor. But let's look at the Citizen. Southeastern, the zone to watch in industrial output. The Southeastern zone posted a massive 30.8% growth in the value of manufacturing output in the quarter ended September 2024, and if the trend continues, it will in a few years be snapping at Dar es Salaam's heel after Tanzania's industrial hub plunged by 37.9%. That is a story in the Citizen. But also in the Citizen, Tazara set to receive 1.4 billion for revamp. That is the Tanzania-Zambia Railway Authority is set to receive 1.4 billion in investment from China Civil Engineering Construction Corporation to overhaul its railway infrastructure and operations. And still in the Citizen, unraveling the uneasy mutual respect between hippos and crocs. And still in the Citizen, oral hygiene, key to preventing tonsillitis, say experts. And there in the Citizen, Angelica and Imani doing their bit for Tanzania's digital transformation. Now looking at the Daily Nation, Raila's big harvest. Former Prime Minister Raila Odinga's handshake with President William Ruto is paying dividends, with the latest charges landing the ODM chief 14 principal secretaries posts as the duo's broad-based government continues to take shape. But the reshuffle will come at a huge cost to already overburdened Kenyan taxpayers, given that no single official has been sacked to pave the way for the new entrants. And still in the Daily Nation, principals reject TSC criteria for promotions, and Kisangani's order on advertising by State Farms quashed. That is in the Daily Nation. Now let's look at the Gazette. In the Gazette there, contents the Commissioners for Oaths Advocates Act, the Marriage Act notices, the Examination Pre-Primary, Primary and Post-Primary Act notices, the Advocates Act, the Companies Act, the Copyright and Neighboring Rights Regulation notices, the Electricity Act notice, the Local Governments notices, the Police Control of Private Security Organs notices, the Trademarks Act renewal notice, the Trademarks Act registration of application, and supplements in their statutory instruments, the administration of the judiciary service, the proclamation by the Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament on the presidential address on the State of Nation, the proclamation by the Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament on the presidential address on the national budget for the financial year 2025-2026, and the Building Control Amendment Bill, the Commissioner for Oaths Advocates Act Commission, and to whom these presents may concern. Be it known that the 24th day of December 2024, Wanyana Susan, an appointed advocate of the High Court, has been appointed to the Commissioner for Oaths under the above-mentioned Act for so long as she continues to practice as such advocate and commission is not revoked. And the Marriage Act under Section 5 of the Act in their notice, place for celebration of marriage. There is the schedule, the Seventh-day Adventist Church, Paida, the denomination Seventh-day Adventist, and that is in Jupanyondo East. But also in the Gazette, still the Marriage Act under Section 5, a notice of place for celebration of Marriage Act scheduled for Victory Outreach Church, which is a Pentecostal church. And that's it from the Gazette. Good Morning Uganda does continue now. As always, because it's a Friday, it's a delight to also enjoy good music. So on that note, enjoy music tonight from Pato Ranking. He features Popcorn on this one. We have a lot in store for you and a lot of entertainment, music, as well as books, because it's a Friday. Good Morning Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
But Chirabo, now, over the week, the NRM MPs welcomed a move by the party's top organ to go to court to challenge the Kawempe North by-election. And the legislators say that the decision is a sign of democracy in the nation of Uganda, showing that even the ruling party can attend court and take its issues right there like any other citizen of the nation. However, some MPs believe that the government should forego the challenging this election and look forward to the 2026 general election by going on ground and mobilizing on ground. Not so sure what you think, but also looking at the Friday vibes, as always, when it's entertainment. R. Kelly claims he has written 25 albums 3 years into his 30-year prison sentence over sex trafficking and racketeering. This he called into the Inmate Tea podcast and shared this news. But good morning once again, and good morning to you, Robert.
A lovely morning to you, Julie. It's a Friday.
It is a
I must
Friday.
say, and of course Friday, I'm usually very excited.
About what exactly?
Of course, there is a nightlife that I do for journalistic purposes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so when you see me in any place, maybe you don't expect me to be at a particular time, but not of low class, but a place. Sometimes I'm there typically for journalistic purposes.
Now there's
So
a lot of explanation, but good morning, Olive.
No, let me just conclude this thing very briefly. You know, doing a morning show and many other shows, you must have general knowledge concerning everything.
Okay.
That's true.
Even if you find me in the ghetto, I'm trying to understand the monies that the president is sending to the people in the ghettos. What is their life like? What do they go through? If you find me in a bar, I'm there to see this nightlife you're talking about, that Uganda has the best nightlife in East Africa. What is it like? I must be informed.
All
and
right.
I love being informed when I was there at that scene.
What has made your week?
What has made my week, actually, it can't be anywhere far than the Kawempe North by-election. Now, Council area Sinarukola was announced the winner by the Electoral Commission. And till yesterday, he hasn't yet been gazetted. And he cannot be sworn in as a member of parliament if he's not gazetted. So what does this mean? That currently, Nalukola's fate unless gazetted. So that is sworn in as a member of parliament. He is not yet ready to celebrate enough. Remember, the law gives a person or any complainant 7 days of which to petition. Now, it may all not look as rosy as it seemed when he got his victory. I must say he may not sleep comfortably, neither should the Nup camp.
Nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters. There exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, every story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. One-on-one with Michael Jordan Lukomwao.
A weekly face-to-face conversation focusing on accountability, inspiration, information, and sensitization of the public from the various sources, such as inspirational profiles.
Having a disability is not inability.
Every Friday 9 p.m., it's one-on-one with Michael Jordan Lukomwao.
Don't you see anywhere that you would give a credit in the fight against COVID?
My role as the owner of the country is not to, be preoccupied by giving credit to my servant.
We have said that if we are to talk to General Museveni, there must be certain conditions in place.
Is it true that you paid 5 million shillings to MPs that voted for?
Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, you can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondolo. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100*21# and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Uganda once again. Welcome to the show. In case you're just joining in, Julie F. Nantabamusisi is my name. And as Ugandans, one of the things that define us is the fact that we love entertainment. In fact, Uganda is stated as one of the happiest nations in Africa and East Africa. And when it comes to East Africa, it's known as one of the nations that happen to mean go out and attend events quite a lot. And at that, it means that in entertainment, there's always stories that are being told. Stories from book authors, stories from playwrights, stories from artists and musicians, stories in the form of entertainment that either inform the masses for growth and development of the nation, or whatever message the author might want to portray. But ultimately, at least here on UBC TV, we inspire Uganda, and whatever form of entertainment we bring, it's one to inspire a Ugandan and to make them better. So today on the show, we have a gentleman who I've known from the UNCC circles and even at closer proximity, but I'll allow him speak more because he's here for matters that build the nation through arts and entertainment. Mr. Sebagala Andrew is the production manager at the UNCC, that is at the Uganda National Theatre, and he is here to talk about the arts through books, through plays.
Center, which is the home to the Uganda National Theatre, the only theatre or national theatre that we have in this country. And she has asked, what do you do as a